Hey guys, how's it going? Today we continue our quest to beat every NES Robot Master, Buster only, ranking them from easiest to hardest. We've officially reached the top 20 hardest Robot Masters from Mega Man 1 through 6. Please keep in mind this is based on how it felt for me when I played through the games entirely, then again through all of the Robot Masters just recently for this video. This list basically boils down to what I consider 4 objective aspects: the margin for error to avoid attacks, the amount of damage done to Mega Man when hit, the timing to land your attacks on the Robot Master, and of course the amount of damage done by your Buster. Your list may differ from mine, so before we get started, I would love to know, who do you think are the hardest Robot Masters? Who's your hardest? Who do you think is the easiest? I'm excited, and I hope you are too. Number 20. Crash Man from Mega Man 2. Crash Man only being at 20 may surprise some players. Before sinking into the challenge, and while dying multiple times in a row, I also thought this fight would be a lot higher. His bombs do decent damage and they zip out quickly at tough angles to avoid. Plus, his evasiveness can make him tough to land your shots on. But if you happen to wait for him to attack first, when I was trying to be a bit more patient, I realized that he basically only jumps as an immediate response to when you shoot. So if you keep that in mind, you can really control this fight to make it way more manageable and less chaotic than normal. Once it's made so manageable and simple, you can see why there are still 19 fights to go on the list. Number 19. Crystal Man from Mega Man 5. Crystal Man can be pretty tough to avoid if he is in the mood to release multiple bouncing projectiles in a row. If Crystal Man just kept doing the single shot, that would be one thing, but every time I faced him, I end up having a tough time avoiding everything he has going on or receiving solid contact damage. Plus, something else you have to overcome is when you lose your charge shot as you get hit, which makes it more difficult to keep up in the fight to rack up more damage than he does. He never does run, only jumps the entire time, which is good to keep in mind for your positioning. This is just a fight where you have to be comfortable controlling Mega Man to avoid as much as you can before you return fire, and have a real grasp of spatial awareness, pretty much required at this point. Number 18. Metal Man from Mega Man 2. If you've gotten used to kicking Mega Man 2's ass on normal mode, it's probably weird to see this guy so high. If you're used to beating Metal Man, banking on that you won't go much below half of your health, you would be dead on difficult mode, which in actuality is the real difficulty of the game, where normal was just added to make it easier for North American audience. When your attack only does half of the damage that you might be used to, it feels like Mega Man 2 Robot Masters are truly seeking vengeance out on the player. Something really unique about this fight is the moving floor that changes direction, and Metal Man throws these blades out pretty darn fast, plus at the same time he keeps jumping up and down non-stop. He can be quite tricky to hit, so it turns into a fight of the both of you jumping and spamming your attack on each end of the floor, hoping that you can be swift and finish him off first. Number 17. Gravity Man from Mega Man 5. Gravity Man is not a stranger to some other top 10s that I saw, and that's because he can feel like an absolute nightmare to avoid. His solo shots come out quickly and usually pretty well aimed, plus he switches gravity so often that it can feel ridiculous to try to run past him, since you'll keep getting caught for contact damage. It takes time to realize that you should not keep trying to run past unless you absolutely need to when you're already close by during the switch. Naturally, going between the ceiling and floor, always being on the opposite side as Gravity Man, it can be tricky to land your shots since you can't shoot up or down like he can. So you have to get great anticipation and timing down with your charge shots. You have to keep landing these in order to win the fight, and it's not that big of a window at all. Something else to keep in mind, you have to hold up and jump in order to slide while on the ceiling as opposed to the normal down and jump. So with all of that going on, you really do have to be on your game in order to take out Gravity Man. Number 16. Tomahawk Man from Mega Man 6. Tomahawk Man is generally considered to be quite a tough boss fight. He can have some tricky patterns or AI to deal with. He likes to throw his feathers from his head, and of course his tomahawk. Fortunately, the same type of jump allows you to get over both of these attacks, so it's not like you have to do something entirely different if you know how to keep decent spacing and timing with him. You just can't be too close, otherwise he'll just quickly hop right into you without much warning at all. Plus his jumps can be tough since he bounces right off the wall and can catch you trying to slide out of the corner. Just have to keep your shots rolling, jumping over his attacks, and be ready to move away or accordingly with his hops and jumps depending on what mood he's in. Number 15, Woodman from Mega Man 2. Unlike the last fight, there really isn't any variety to how this battle goes at all. Woodman is always in the same mood. He likes to form a leaf shield, pound his chest, and then throw it, as other leaves are falling down as well. It is kind of a large shield to jump over, and the tightness of these quickly zigzagging leaves is the part that feels the trickiest to me. I honestly felt kinda lucky every time I managed to jump up and avoid being hit by it. Going against Woodman without the heat weakness shows you a different aspect of the fight than you might be used to. With the weakness, usually you'd take him out before he reaches your side, but with the Buster, he will reach your side and then you're fighting from the right side of the screen, which is a bit different. It's a simple game plan, can sometimes be tough to execute with the tightness of the jumping. It can actually be seen as number 1 on another list I read. Despite his name and appearance, when it comes down to it, Woodman is no laughing matter. Number 14, Sparkman from Mega Man 3. Sparkman can be a dangerous and tough to avoid Robot Master. His electrical orbs shoot in all directions, immediately followed by a giant spark of death. This thing is so huge, yet the sprite doesn't even match the size of its hitbox. I mean, what the heck is that all about? Plus, as he makes his way from end to end of the room, you'll need to try to get past him without taking damage the best you can. He's quite large actually, so jumping over him or getting underneath the exact time you need to can be pretty hard. With all of the uneven terrains we've seen, this one does come with some intricacies. Basically, you have to constantly be jumping and pouring your shots out in order to finish Sparkman before it's too late. Number 13, Skullman from Mega Man 4. Skullman is a tough fight as well as a quick and fun one once you start to get it down. He fires out rounds of 3 quick bullets, either straight ahead or angled upward depending on where you are. Your jumping and timing has to be so tight with how quickly these shots are coming at you. Skullman also uses a skull shield that protects him, then the shield disappears as he tries to run through you, then immediately turns to shoot again. It's a fast little fight that you'll need to get the practice in order to figure out his habits. Number 12, Flame Man from Mega Man 6. Flame Man, in my opinion, is the hardest Robot Master to take down with your Buster in Mega Man 6. The attack you'll be hoping for are his 3 slow rounds of fire shots, but aside from jumping around and bouncing off walls, he has a flame eruption attack that shoots from the floor and can be really problematic to avoid. I've fought Flame Man multiple times at this point. It's really tough to get used to the spacing and react soon enough to avoid getting hit by those spouts of fire. Aside from tacking on some decent damage, they also deflect your shots, truly making it the worst thing you can decide to do, especially when it's often and multiple times in a row. You have to get your shots in while you can, avoid his contact damage, and be ready to jump 3 times over his round of shots. Quickly and wisely react to the eruptions in order to finally take this guy down. Number 11, Gutsman from Mega Man 1. It seems a fair amount of people understand how tough Gutsman can be, while perhaps some others have gotten through this fight and decided, well, that's all there is to it. You have to keep in mind, just like some Robot Masters, the difficulty can vary quite a bit depending on what mood the guy is in. The thing you can control, albeit pretty dang tight, is jumping at just the right instant in order to not get put off balance and briefly immobilized by his quaking jumps. That make you a sitting duck for his gigantic rock throws. Decent timing won't work to avoid either of these things. It has to be split-second timing, and I find it to be really tight. You have to be shooting quite a bit while focusing on this small window. Then throw in the X factor of if Gutsman decides he's going to move right into your space for contact damage. And worst of all, when he quickly seizes the high ground and brings hell down onto you. Aside from needing tight timing and shooting on your end in order to avoid his punishing rock and contact damage, you also need him to cooperate decently enough. Entering the top 10 now, things are getting serious. Number 10, Pharaoh Man from Mega Man 4. Pharaoh Man is pretty wild, and he can be quite the pain with how he jumps at you while throwing his Pharaoh balls out. Even though you can slide, it doesn't work out so well with the stairs being in your way. It's pretty obvious why this type of behavior can get really tough to avoid, especially when you have no idea how often he's going to do it. The thing you'll be crossing your fingers for is his Pharaoh Blast. It does some heavier damage, but this is your best chance to finally land consecutive charge shots. When he decides to use this attack the most, it's when you're going to have the best chance at taking him down, because it's a huge contrast to when he's all over the place spamming his projectile. You basically avoid what you can while he's doing this, and then make every Pharaoh Blast count towards his demise. Number 9, Ringman from Mega Man 4. That's right, back-to-back Robot Masters from Mega Man 4 to start the top 10. Ringman tends to basically do the same thing throughout the fight, mostly, but his rings come out so fast. Like, my goodness, what the heck is that? You have to jump over the first one coming and then going back, putting your shots out, then he runs at you. You have to jump over him, and he sometimes throws a ring out while he's running your way too. Obviously, you don't want to get caught jumping up into a ring when it's on its way back when he jumps to catch it. And these things are on a very tight and fast reaction pattern, so it's easy to understand why getting caught by a handful of these things is bound to happen. You've got to be really sharp in order to keep landing your charge shots while doing your best to perfectly weave in and out of those super fast rings as much as possible. Number 8, Quick Man from Mega Man 2. You know, it says a lot about the Quick Man fight when he's the last Robot Master on the list that actually takes 2 damage with just a standard buster shot instead of only 1. Quick Man is exactly that. He runs and jumps around so fast and quickly, with his uneven terrain and those dang boomerangs. I mean, the footage speaks for itself, just look at this. You absolutely just have to pour out the shots as much as possible while hopping and dancing around trying to avoid this maniac and those diabolical boomerangs. It's a lot, and it feels pretty non-stop with his insane assault-like nature. Quickman is a difficult guy to avoid, and even though he doesn't do massive damage, he's still bound to wear you down surprisingly fast. Number 7, Gemini Man from Mega Man 3. Gemini Man is a pretty ridiculous fight. The fight starts out against a duo of Gemini Man. He shoots quickly right at the instant you do. Basically, which one shoots has to do with your timing and positioning. The fight can feel dang right absurd in the beginning, but once you realize where to stand, now you're just dealing with a tight window to shoot and also jumping. If you can get him to half health, you then have to face off against Gemini Man trotting from side to side, giving contact damage, plus his Gemini laser is super deadly and can wipe out the last chunk of your health. You need to figure out that first half with those tight shots and jumps, then manage to finish this guy off while avoiding that bouncing laser. Number 6, Snake Man from Mega Man 3. That's right, another Mega Man 3 Robot Master. Snake Man is a goofy looking Robot Master, but this guy and his level's terrain is really annoying. It takes a bit to get familiar with what this guy can exactly do. He moves from left to right regardless of where you are, but this movement is really tough to avoid when he comes your way. He will either jump up and release some snakes, or hop forward at a few points on the ground, basically on thirds across the screen. You have to be ready with a quick slide or move back and jump out of harm's way with his tough contact damage and the more minor 2-peg chipping damage from his snakes. You have to put in 28 shots through quite a lot of danger, and you'll need to be in the zone to get through a fight like Snake Man. Number 5. Shadow Man from Mega Man 3. Yep, you heard it right, another Mega Man 3 Robot Master. Players that are familiar with the classic series could probably see this coming, because Mega Man 3 is absolutely notorious for some of the hardest Robot Master fights, especially with the Buster. Shadow Man is a crazy little fight, so he hops a few times and then either quickly slides at you and immediately pops up, catching you for damage for anything less than a perfectly timed jump. The other attack he could do, stand for a split second and then throw his shadow blades. He hops a few times in your direction and then slides or throws a couple blades, and this makes him a very difficult fight. He's hard to get in great damage on with his brief hopping before you need to split second react to his attacks, and keep in mind the obvious, you have to hit him way more times than he needs to catch you with his crazy nonsense. I honestly got pretty lucky where he chose to throw his blade multiple times in a row, giving me an amazing opportunity to finally take this guy down. Number 4. Bright Man from Mega Man 4. Bright Man can be a really challenging and annoying fight. He likes to regularly pump out 3 quick shots. These are not aimed or in a consistent pattern. The order is random, but all that is certain, one shot will go straight, one will angle up, and one will go down. You never know the order, so it can catch you jumping into the one at an angle, or get caught standing or mistiming the straight shot. He also likes to jump at Mega Man 2, which you have to be ready for because he does some crazy contact damage, nearly 1/3 of your health. And now we will finally talk about what makes this fight so ridiculous. Bright Man, just like Flash Man or Centaur Man, can stop time. When he stops time, you pray that he shoots bullets because that's way better than being froze helpless, as he will leap and crash into you for crazy damage. Something I did not know until after the fact is that his AI for time stop is always used at exactly half, quarter, or eighth of his health left, meaning that if you use the charge shot or his weakness to skip over 14, 7, and 3 pegs of his health left, you'd skip the threat of his time stop. Even without obscure knowledge like that, he's of course still beatable. You just have to basically avoid everything in order to last through being stuck helpless to survive that brutal, deadly contact damage. Number 3. Iceman from Mega Man 1. Iceman is a tough and horribly punishing fight. You might think a fight that's always the same pattern couldn't possibly be one of the very hardest of the series, but it is, even as high as number 1 on some other players' list. It's because your shot does 1 peg of damage and his does 10. That's right, 10 pegs of damage. You have to keep rifling out your shots while barely weaving between these giant ice triangles that ravage your health. And you know what's crazy? As you slowly wear down Iceman's health, it takes quite a bit before you even get a glimmer of hope. You need to land right in that tight space and then jump right out of that tight space. Something that's really unfortunate, those ice attacks can even take you out after you've defeated your foe. With such life-demolishing danger and a jump pattern that makes you clench while you nervously tap the shot button, Iceman is one of the very deadliest Robot Masters of all time and number 3 on the list. Number 2. Needleman from Mega Man 3. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. As far as the fight goes, Needleman is definitely a bit of a needle dick, honestly. Very fast with a ton of projectiles, hard to avoid, hard to hit, and he can just jump in to wreck your face without warning. This is one difficult guy to avoid. Needleman is ridiculous with his weird stop midair assault needle jumps, giving you a whole lot to avoid that sometimes feels impossible. This guy does heavy contact damage, and he likes to jump at you quite often. Plus, he's always looking to get close for that vicious needlehead stab attack. If you stay right outside that range, sometimes you can get a few more freebies of shots in, which you'll need if you want even the slightest chance against a boss like this. Needleman is aggressive and throws a butt ton of needles at you as you feel trapped in the corner. All those projectiles on top of that contact damage from the jumping and stabbing, he's absolutely brutal to take down with your buster. Needleman can be downright atrocious. It feels like you have everything against you as you try to pump shots out and move about the best you can to outlast this totally punishing bully of a Robot Master. So, after 45 fights covered, who could possibly be the hardest Robot Master, Buster only, in classic Mega Man? Well, we know by now it would have to be somebody that is hard to avoid, does mad damage, can be tricky to shoot, and takes a full 28 shots to take down. Coming in on the top of the list is... Number 1. Eleman. He's just an incredibly challenging and, to be quite honest, somewhat torturous fight with only your buster. Wanna know why his weakness, the cutter blade, can take him out in only 3 hits? Well, that's what the game even thought you'd need to take this guy out, because that's exactly what he can do to you. Just 3 blasts from his spiraling, gigantic, thunderous tumbleweeds of doom is enough to take you out. And unlike being a tight and somewhat slower pattern such as Iceman, Eleman is an absolute maniac. His pattern and options look basically like this. He will run, then fire, or jump fire, and when he does jump, it'll either be towards Mega Man or the other way. From what I experienced over several fights, he jumped toward me sometimes multiple times in a row, making it super nerve-wracking. The way he presses forward through those bullets to overtake your space and then continue blasting his electric balls of death across the screen is something straight out of a nightmare. I had multiple lengthy battles with this guy to finally overtake him. At some point, trying to stuff this guy as he's jumping into your face can often only work for so long until he eventually forces an attack out when he's just an inch away, and it happens over and over as you hold on for dear life. I was super relieved to finally get out of this fight, and you really hope for the best when it comes to the super close calls, like barely still blinking from post-hit invincibility as another thunder monster runs right through your sprite. You need to truly be a pro hunter of Robot Masters with your buster in order to take down Eleman, and this is why Eleman is number 1 on the list, the hardest Robot Master with buster only in the NES Mega Man Classic series. In closing, which Robot Masters have given you the hardest time? What are your favorite Robot Masters? How about your favorite themes? Would love to hear from you viewers and the Mega Man fans in the comments below. I appreciate you watching and for the likes, comments, and subscriptions to help the channel grow. Want to see more Mega Man Buster only action? How about the Super Nintendo Mega Man X, X2, and X3 Mavericks? Thanks again so much for watching, look forward to seeing you for the next episode, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.